Hey you guys, I'm Steven.
I'm Giselle.
And we're the Lover's Passport. Today we're going to be giving you guys the full Northern California road trip that we went on this winter.
A lot of you guys have been asking for itineraries and guides, so we hope this video will be super useful for you. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and give this video a like if you enjoy. So with that, let's just jump right into our itinerary.
So you can do this road trip both from the north and from the south. This is what worked best for us. We live down south near LA. So from us to Yosemite, it's about a 6-hour drive. So that's where we started our trip. We drove all the way up to Yosemite and we camped right outside of Yosemite National Park.
There is a Forest Service road that we found, and it took a lot of digging to find this spot, but it's also seasonally closed depending on the weather and whatnot. If you don't know, you can camp on most Forest Service roads as long as there's no prohibited camping signs or you're blocking anything. That is considered a good dispersed camping spot. There's also a ton of hotels in the Yosemite area if you can't actually get a reservation inside of the park. The park has opened back up, but they're back on the day use permit, so you do need a day use permit in order to enter the park, or you need a lodge or campground reservation. Glacier Road is still closed because it is the winter. It does open back up once the snowy season has passed. Check out this video if you haven't already on our quick little morning in Yosemite when we started our road trip.
So after we finished up in Yosemite, next up on our list was Lassen National Park, which is a bit of a mob. It was about
6 hours.
Yeah, it was a 6-hour drive. So we left Yosemite National Park in the morning and drove all the way up to Lassen for sunset. During the winter, there is not a lot to do in Lassen because they do shut down the road going into the main part of the national park. The one thing you can do is stop at Manzanita Lake. Your picture can look just like this.
There's a few different snowshoeing routes you can check out. All of Lassen's National Park website guides have them all listed based on difficulty, so I would highly recommend checking that out. We'll link that down below for you. Since the connecting road that splits off, as he said, for Lassen is closed, you kind of have to make a choice if you were trying to do Yosemite and Lassen in the same day. If you were going to go check out Sulphur Works area, which is another really cool snowshoeing spot, or Manzanita Lake, because they're about an hour-and-a-half drive away from each other when that road is closed. Way shorter when the whole park is open. But those are the two most prominent beginner-friendly snowshoeing routes if you were going in the winter. So just keep that in mind. You know, road closures do affect how you travel. But if you haven't checked that out, we'll link it up here. Check it out. Lassen's so underrated, and it's one of the least visited national parks in California. And I thought it was so beautiful. The light hitting Lassen Peak at the end of the day after that drive, and the trees going into the park was just absolutely stunning. So would highly recommend.
And the next morning we headed to Burney Falls for sunrise. This spot is amazing. I kept hearing people say it's one of the wonders of California. Not a lot of people know about it, and it didn't disappoint. It's a really wide waterfall. The best 2 times to go are during sunrise and sunset. If you want to check out all the details and our experience in Burney Falls, make sure to check out the video up here. But we highly recommend going during the sunset or sunrise if you're doing photography. You can go during the day, but it is so bright that sometimes it's hard to get a good picture of it. If you go during sunrise or sunset, you can get a nice smooth shot of the water. It looks just like this.
But if you're not interested in photography and you just want to hit some really cool spots on your trip, definitely check it out during the middle of the day. There's some hikes. You can do a hike all the way around the waterfall. And it's ADA accessible and friendly. There's an entrance fee. I forget exactly how much. I think it was $10. And there are campgrounds there, but it's first come, first serve. So just know that. We decided to camp at the Walmart in Redding, and it's a 45 minute drive from there. So we just got up a little bit early, but that's just how we roll. Then after Burney Falls, we made our way up to the Castle Lake Trail to Heart Lake, which is a snowshoeing route during the winter or a normal hike during the summer. And it was so much fun. It was our first time snowshoeing, and we had the place basically to ourselves.
I really loved the whole drive there. From Burney Falls all the way to Castle Rock Trailhead. It was probably about an hour, hour and a half drive, but the whole time you're looking at Mount Shasta, which is just insane. That was the main reason we want to do the Heart Lake Trail. If you want to see the full video on our morning at Burney Falls and at Heart Lake, make sure to check the link up here. We did a full video on our experience there. It has the best view of Mount Shasta in the area, in our opinion.
Just be aware, the days we were there, the road was actually plowed, so we were able to get all the way through. However, we did read on All Trails that a few days prior to us visiting that the snow was completely like all over the road, and so you would need four-wheel drive or chains. So just make sure to pack them when you're visiting this area because it does get quite a bit of snow depending on the time of year.
After we finished off our hike at Heart Lake, we drove up into Oregon, actually.
Temporarily.
And
Get
then,
gas there because it's cheaper than in California. Then we went to Jedediah Smith State Park.
We left Heart Lake. This was a long drive again. We tried to do plan our days is where we saw a lot for sunrise and sunset times.
And then
midday when there's not as good of lighting. And we made it to Jedediah State Park just in time for sunset. It was raining, but I thought it kind of added to the mysterious, magical vibes of the Redwoods.
And it was basically a lush rainforest. Like when we show you pictures like this, the green was that green. Like I did not touch the saturation on that green. It was insane. So, and we had it all to ourselves because nobody wants to hike in the rain, but we do. So, you know, we were there. And it was a gorgeous trail. It made all the reds really pop and all the greens really pop. We did one hike in that state park. It was called the Boy Scout Tree Trail, and that is probably one of the top 2 hikes that I'd recommend doing there. But if you want to see the full video on that, check it out above.
As soon as we finished hanging out at Jedediah State Park, we jumped out of there and we started heading to where we were camping. It was called
the Prairie Creek Campground. It's a really good location. It's right next to the Prairie Creek Trail. It's only like a 20 to 30 minute drive to Redwood National Park proper, so that was a appealing thing for us. But one thing to really note when you are going to the Redwood National and State Parks area is that there's hardly any cell service, so make sure you print out the maps ahead of time or screenshot them, whatever you like, have a GPS unit, etc.
We do cover our favorite things to do in the Redwoods up here, so make sure to check out that YouTube video if you want to see a little bit more in depth. The hike that we were heading to that morning was called the Big Trees Trail.
You need a permit for this trail because it is one of the more popular ones, and apparently the tallest redwood in that area, not like necessarily marked because they don't want people to know and like ruin it, because unfortunately people will do that and carve their name in trees and stuff. Don't be those people, leave no trace. This is a really cool hike. This is probably our favorite hike that we did next to Boy Scout and the Tall Trees Grove. We had it all to ourselves. It was really awesome.
As soon as we finished the Big Trees Trail, which was our favorite hike in the Redwoods,
and we started going down south, and we drove, instead of going on the freeway the whole way, we hopped off on the Avenue of the Giants.
That was like one of my favorite parts of the whole trip.
Highly recommend stopping there. We realized there's so many things. You can camp over there. There's tons of backpacking routes, hiking trails, just gorgeous scenic road, and we would totally go back and just like explore that road for a weekend if we had the time.
I would recommend for everything only spending about a half day. I think for the Redwoods you can dedicate 2 full days. We only got 1 day to do it, but just because it is such a wide area with the few different state parks and the 1 national park, there's a lot to cover. So we'll definitely be going back again in a different season. And once we finished hanging out at Avenue of the Giants, we started heading down south. There's so much to see along that route, but our destination was San Francisco.
Yes, and so there's actually a rest stop you can stay at in San Francisco that's right next to the Golden Gate Bridge. Then we did a hike in the morning to Slacker Hill, but unfortunately it was super cloudy, couldn't see the Golden Gate Bridge, and then we mobbed to a new spot that our friend Chaz recommended, which was called Mount Tamalpais. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but bear with me. We're not native San Franciscans, but it's a state park, and it was Steven's like new favorite part of San Francisco area. San
Francisco itself, I've had a lot of bad experiences there just with cloudiness or too busy
or traffic.
Yeah, or trash.
We got robbed there when I was in college once.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of that, but scenic wise, if you had one thing to see in San Francisco, obviously you have to see the Golden Gate Bridge, but I would head up to Mount Tamalpais. You can get above the clouds. It was completely covered in clouds down below. Couldn't see any blue, and it was thick down in San Francisco. As soon as we took up the hour drive up there, the whole drive was beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Trees. It had a really nice winding road. We saw a dam, and it got you all the way up above the clouds. So if you guys want to see a cloud inversion, or if you guys just want to go up and have some fun with photography, we've seen some really cool shots
like
up
rolling
there.
hills, or
Yeah.
like, you know, Carl the Fog shots. That's where a lot of people get those. And then that is also where we ended our trip before we mom's back home to SoCal.
For our trip, we took about 5 days to do it. We were so down south that we had to spend basically a whole day just driving up and driving back.
Yeah.
So we had to crunch down our time a little bit. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to spend a little bit more time. But those were the highlights. If you've never been in Northern California, highly recommend taking at least 6 or 7 days to spend a lot more time in all the areas. We were doing it pretty quick, like I said, because we have a limited amount of days off.
Working full time.
If you guys have any questions or you want to see our more in-depth YouTube videos, we did a full YouTube video on each day of our road trip. Those are all linked down below.
And if you're interested in getting into photography along your trip, we did just launch our travel photography ebook, our guide to creating really epic self-portraits in these really cool landscapes. So we've linked that down below too.
Yes, we cover everything from iPhone photography to astrophotography with your camera. We talk about what type of lenses you should get and the type of gear,
How to location scout, how to pose.
We talk
all that
about
kind of
editing, everything that we've learned in the past 9 months, going from no followers on Instagram to now 60,000, we've learned this year. And we're just ordinary people that work full-time jobs, and we want to help you be able to do that too. So if you want to check that out, check it out down below. Today is going to be our last day that we have it on sale.
As always, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you like this kind of content, we'd love for you to subscribe and join the Lovers Passport family.
And we'll see you guys in the next adventure.